him before I introduce him is that he has one thing in common with Kevin Barry, and that is they both absolutely hate losing. They both expressed that to me many, many times. They hate losing. Now, I'm going to get them both to come along just to say a few words, and I was just, come on. One of the things I thought about that debate, and one of the things that was funny about Abel was he had a bet with all his boxers about the presidential election, and he bet $1 for every boxer that Trump would win the election. And I think he won $5 out of it. He hung it on the wall. He hung it on the wall so that all his boxers could see the $5 that he won. He's not a betting man, but he certainly predicted Trump would win. But one of the things I thought was interesting, particularly in the second presidential debate, was that at the end of what was quite a caustic 90 minutes, they asked both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump to say something nice about each other. Now you guys are sitting here waiting for the trash talk, and don't worry, we'll try and do that for you. But Abel, welcome to New Zealand. I'd like Kevin Barry just to say, explain to the public a couple of nice things about Abel Sanchez and how great a trainer he is.
Well, I think it's already been well documented that Abel's one of the elite trainers in world boxing, and a man I have enormous respect for. And as Craig just mentioned before, Abel's on a hot streak at the moment, which concerns me a little coming into the fight on Saturday. I know that when Andy went to train with Abel up in Big Bear, he gave himself every opportunity to be successful in this fight, and I think it was the smartest thing that Andy could do. Abel's a man that has excelled in the game for many, many years. Myself living in Las Vegas for the last 12 years, you know, Abel's name comes up often in many circles, and I've never heard a negative or a bad word said about this man in all my time in boxing. So it's a guy that I have a lot of respect for. I know that Andy will be well prepared. I know that there'll be a terrific game plan in place on Saturday. We believe that we have a solid game plan, and I think this fight on paper is a very even matchup. It'll come down to who can actually, whose game plan will be stronger on the night and who can implement it. We know that both guys are going to attempt to make each other very uncomfortable in this fight. So it's going to be a hard-fought contest, and I welcome Abel here to New Zealand. I hope that he has a great time while he's here in our country. And I called in this morning and brought a small gift for him that I'd like to give to you.
Thank you very much.
And I don't want to say the name wrong and be jumped on by all the married people in the country, but it's a teko teko. I presume that's right. It's a freestanding figure that is on top of a lot of the meeting houses in New Zealand. It usually stands on top of the meeting house in a fighting stance, either in a haka stance or a fighting stance. And when people come towards the meeting house, it's there for protection. If they come friendly, it protects them while they're here in their land. So I think it's a nice little carving for it that I want to give to Abel.
Thank you very much. Now, Abel, one thing that really struck me was how relaxed you were when I was up in Big Bear a couple of weeks ago. You've been on a plane, you've been in Russia, you flew back to, you won a world championship, you flew back to California, then 4 hours to Big Bear, slept in your bed for 10 hours, 4 hours back to LAX, you come back, so you pretty much have been travelling for like the last 80, 90 hours, and here he is smiling. This is the guy, he's so relaxed, but I have news for you. This fella here is usually intense fight week, and he is ridiculously relaxed. So it's going to be a meeting of two relaxed guys. Can I ask you please to say a few words and just your thoughts on Kevin Barry?
Absolutely. Thank you, Kevin, for the kind words. I want to thank Kevin and Joseph Parker team, the promoters. Hospitality has been great. I've been getting reports while I've been gone from Ben and from Andy. We're happy to be here. I think we have two guys that are the future of the heavyweight division. I think we have two guys that are finally going to show us what heavyweights are actually supposed to fight like, not the wrestling that we've been getting for the last 10 years. It's an evenly matched fight, I believe. The reason Kevin is, I'm sure, very relaxed as I am is because our guys are ready. And they're going to give us the kind of fight that we deserve as fans. Yes, I am on a winning streak right now, but that's That's in Russia. That's not here in New Zealand. We're in Joseph's hometown. I'm sure he's going to have a lot of support. So we hope to give you the kind of fight that you deserve.
Just your thoughts on Kevin as a trainer?
Well, I've been watching Kevin since he had David Tua. And the difference, I think that Kevin and I, as far as coaches are, he takes one guy or two guys and devotes 1,000% of his time into them, and it shows. The development that Tua had in the heavyweight division and the development that Joseph has shown is indicative of what a great coach is supposed to do. I only train 8 fighters to 9 fighters in my gym, so I have a small selection also, but at times I wish I had the kind of opportunities that Kevin has, where he only has a couple guys that he can devote his full time to it. I believe Joseph lives at your house.
Yes.
So that's such an easier way to do it for us coaches, because we get to monitor everything they do, and that's the reason he's having success. Hopefully Andy is successful on Saturday night and devotes his time to my gym and spends a lot more time in my gym, because I do have housing there also. And if he does, then maybe we'll get the same kind of success that Joseph has enjoyed.
So just to give you an understanding of how Abel trains his fighters, he's got 8 there at the moment, and that includes Triple G, and they all train exactly the same schedule. Andy Ruiz is trained exactly the same schedule as Triple G.
Yes, we meet in the morning at 7 o'clock in the morning as a team. They don't know what they're going to run tomorrow. They don't know what they're going to do tomorrow. I schedule everything. Depends how I feel that morning, I guess. And we do our run, we come back, we do our stretching, and on the board I have schedules of different times of training, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 5 o'clock, depending on the weights. But they do the same kind of exercises, and I mix up sometimes on different days, mix up guys to work with different guys to get more motivation. But yes, he's right. Golovkin does the same thing that a forerunner does, because that forerunner is going to eventually get to the point where Golovkin is, hopefully, and he's got to understand what it takes to be at that level. And that's one of the things that I respect so much about this guy, is that he's a old-fashioned kind of trainer like I want to believe that I am. I don't have any nutritionists. I don't have any strength and conditioning coaches. We do all our work because that's what we've done all this time, and that's what's worked. And it's very important to make sure that these guys understand that that's the kind of work that needs to be done.
One of the angles that everyone's been touching on has been the weight, right? With Andy Ruiz, dropped a lot of weight. They're going to ask their own questions very quickly, but could you just explain to them how Andy weighs himself in the structure in the Big Bear gym compared to everyone else?
Everybody that comes to my gym has to weigh themselves. I don't care who they're with. They weigh themselves prior to training, and we write it on the board. And we write it on the board that's in front of the scale, and every day I require them to be below the weight that they were the day before. Whether it's a quarter pound or half a pound or 3 pounds, they have to be below the weight that every day that they were the prior time they weighed themselves. Andy lost about 35 pounds. And it wasn't because he never wore any plastics. It wasn't because he was on a diet. It was because he was eating 4 or 5 times a day, training in the morning real hard and training in the evening. So we didn't run a fat farm. We ran a gym that requires him to work hard and lose weight a little bit at a time. In the 6 weeks that he was there, like I said, 35 pounds, I think is a pretty good number.
But the thing that's interesting is you don't actually look at them when they weigh themselves.
No, it's an honor system. They write it on the board. They have to understand one of these days they're going to say, hey, come on, let's go check. So if they were lying to me the day before or a week before, I'll be able to tell. It's their job, not mine. And that's another thing I admire about this guy too. It's he requires them to do their work. We do our work, but they got to do their work. And if they do their work, they're going to get results. And if I check them and they're lying to me, well, that's very easily fixed. They're gone from my gym.
I'm going to open up to questions very shortly. You see lots of nice things, so I'm now going to touch on a couple of things where you disagree with each other. Where do I start? Abel, you have questioned the fact that Joseph Parker has gone to see a psychologist, because it's not something that you would have expected Joseph to do. It's not something that you would do in your gym, because you break your fighters down in training.
No, it's not something I would have expected Kevin to allow him to do. But there's moments, Tiger Woods, the greatest golfer on earth, that has a psychologist, or had a psychologist. I think that every fighter is different, but when I start with a fighter, I lay down the ground rules, and I don't change it. And if they require a psychologist, maybe I'm not the right coach for them, because I break them down. I make sure that they understand who's in charge and how the system works, because we have a system there, and And if they question it and they have questions about it, well, maybe that's the wrong place for me. Maybe it could be somewhere else.
Finally, Kevin, I'll ask you a curly question as well. You have openly said, we'll bring you around to Abel, openly said that you're surprised that Abel has come down, in particular, and he's come down only a week before the fight. And you've done that flight from Los Angeles to New Zealand multiple times.
Well, what I actually said was, if that decision was mine, and I was making it on behalf of Joseph, I'd bring him down 2 weeks beforehand. But the other thing, if you actually heard my whole answer, was that Abel's been up in Big Bear for a long time, training in altitude with a number of world champions, as we've just been talking about. He's also had people fighting in all different continents around the world, so I'm pretty sure he knows exactly the amount of time a fighter requires coming from Big Bear to fight. So, you know, I know that he wouldn't be doing anything if he wasn't 100% confident that the amount of time Andy's had here would be enough.
Questions, guys?
Let me say something. There's 4 organizations, major organizations. There's 17 weight divisions in each one. There's 68 actual world champions. 67 because there's one going to be determined on Saturday. But there's 68 actual world champions. There's 68 genius coaches out there that think their way is the only way. That's not true. There's a lot of different ways. He's got his way, I got my way, and 67 other coaches have their way. So what's right and wrong, it depends on us.
Abel, can I ask you first up, what are the key improvements in Andy's ring craft ahead of this fight?
Well, the unfortunate thing for me and for Andy is I only had him for a little over 6.5 weeks. And then when there was time of, the reason 6.5 weeks, it was actually 8 weeks he was there, but when there was time of it being postponed until January, we allowed him a couple days off, so he went home for a couple days. But there's only certain things that I can do other than the weight to dramatically change Andy. I have to work with what he's got and make sure that I get him as best prepared as I can for what he's given me at this moment.
But to answer the question, what are the key improvements?
The key improvements is up here. As you noticed, him being here, he's in a great mood, he's walking tall, he feels good, he has skills already. So it's just a matter of me sharpening up the skills and getting him in the best mental shape possible to put up with the 16 or 15,000 people that are going to be screaming at him.
Are you confident he can stay out of the way of Joseph's jab?
No, I'm wondering if Joseph can stay out of the way of his right hand.
Kevin, can I just ask you, obviously Abel trains a lot of fighters, almost runs like a military operation by the sound of it. You run more of a bespoke service, I suppose. Do you think that personal touch gives you an advantage in this fight?
Well, it's definitely helped for Joseph, and it's helped for Izu, my other heavyweight that lives with me. So the fact that I can devote 100% of my time to 2 guys, you know, we've shown that over the last 4 years that we've backed it up with a lot of results. So for me, it works, and it works for Joe.
Abel, do you think if you had Ruiz earlier in his career, I know you had him early on in his career, but the last couple of years he would have made this point much quicker and his weight would have been more strong?
I think that his method of training would have been a lot different. His method of approaching the fight would have been a lot different, but we're saddled with what it is. We're here and we're fighting on Saturday, so we'll do the best that we can for the time we had. I still think that's enough to beat Joseph Parker. Just like Kevin just said, he's got 2 guys that are doing very well, so his method obviously is working.
Kevin Abel has come out and said Joseph's got to be mindful of the right. Two fights ago, he did get tagged by Takam. Are you confident enough you can stay out of the way?
Well, look, both guys are going to get hit with a lot of punches in this fight. This is heavyweight boxing. This is 2 young guys who like to come forward, who have very fast hands, and who like to use them. This is going to be an entertaining fight, and it's not just Joseph that's going to be getting hit with right hands. Both guys are going to get hit a lot.
Kevin, the gift that you've given Abel today, that's a lovely gesture. Is that so that he's got something to take home with him?
Yes.
Yeah. As opposed to
Abel, you talked about, and Kevin talked about the boxer who's going to win is the one who sticks to his game plan. What is your game plan? Can you reveal that?
Well, it's not so much, I don't think it's the game plan so much, it's the guy that can impose his will on the other guy. If Joseph is able to impose his will on Andy, he'll be successful. I don't think he will be able to. I think that my guy is very confident on his ability and what he can do and what we've done in the gym. I think we've had a great training camp, but I know that Joseph has too. But I think that the guy that imposes his will because the game plan will come right after you do that. Game plan can only work if you have control of the fight, if you have control of the other guy's mind, and I think that Andy will be the one doing it.
Kevin, how big a game changer being in New Zealand?
Massive. You know, for us, this is, you know, we're trying to give Joe every opportunity to be successful, and fighting here at home is huge for us. You know, we know that when we get in the Victor Arena on Saturday, and when Joe walks out and the crowd is screaming, we're going to be using that crowd noise to uplift Joe and to carry him through the fight. And there's going to be a lot of times in this fight that, you know, that are going to be really tough, and he's going to have to go to a dark place a couple of times. And I hope that Andy goes to a dark place a couple of times too. And we'll be looking for the crowd to help him.
The use of the psychologist, is that just to keep him in check? You know yourself, he's gone off task in the ring a couple of times. Is that just the finishing touch?
No, I think what it is like, you know, as a coach, Abel said before, you know, like, I consider myself an old coach, an old-time coach, and a lot of the coaching methods that I do, I got from my dad. But, you know, what I'm trying to do now with Joe is I want him to fulfill his potential. And there are a couple of things, you know, you guys have heard me say this on several occasions after winning fights, that I was disappointed with Joe's performance. I was very disappointed with Joe in the tackle fight, because I know he's so much better than that. So we're just looking at different things that might help us reach our full potential.
Abel, were you surprised when you were approached by Andy to train him again and to train him against Joseph Parker in New Zealand?
No. 6 months ago, he spent 5 weeks in my gym, lost a lot of weight. I put him through my system, through my program. He was very happy with what he was doing. There was some issues, some management issues, and he had to leave. But his father promised me that if they ever got a title fight or a fight where they could fend for themselves, money-wise, they would be back and I would be training with them. So when this fight was talked about, Andy Ruiz Sr. called me up and asked me if I was interested. Of course, I said yes. I got a chance to go against Kevin.
How much did you know about Joseph before you signed?
It's my job to watch the divisions that have fighters close to. In fact, I want to say this. I think that either your son or Kevin reached out to me to have Garcia go up to spar with, or they wanted to come to my gym and spar with Garcia, which is about maybe 8 months ago. We were in camp together with Klitschko.
Yes.
And after that, they reached out. It never materialized, but...
for the tag-on fight, I think he was contacting for the... Yeah.
Abel, Roy Jones came out and said, losing weight, you lose your punching power. Can you tell us right here, that's just hearsay, it's rubbish, and that he hasn't lost any punching power?
No. There's different ways to lose weight, but understand that when you're 290 pounds, you're slower, your punches are slower. When you lose 30, 35 pounds, your punches are snappier. You're faster on your feet, your hands are faster. You're not getting as tired because you're not carrying all the weight. So I'm not gonna say you gain punching power, but you don't lose. You definitely don't lose it. I think that you become a sharper puncher, and sometimes a sharper puncher is better than a thudding, heavy-handed guy.
Do you agree with that, Kevin?
Look, I look at Andy right throughout his 8-year professional career, and he has lost weight every single time that he's fought. So the whole weight issue, for me, it's not an issue at all. I put a line through it. It doesn't factor into this fight whatsoever.
Hey, are you going to get in the ring with Andy into a boxing ring somewhere in the next couple of days?
No, if we're not ready coming here now, we're never going to be ready. We'll get in the ring just because it's a ring, but not necessarily do any kind of work. He's ready to fight now, so he's one of those, they're in a division where they don't have to lose any weight, so that fight could happen tomorrow and they're ready to go. So to answer your question, no, there's no need to that.
When did you last work one-on-one with Andy, and does your time with Gaziev affect this build-up in any way, do you think?
No, our heavy work was the week before I left with Gaziev. The last week of sparring, he did 8 4-minute rounds every three times that week. So it was the cool down period now. When I was there with Gaziev, I think the last day they sparred 11 4-minute rounds together. So that was the hard part of the training, and it was a matter of toning it down. I think that was on Wednesday before I left with Gaziev. So
how useful was Andy Ruiz to winning Gaziev's title?
Instrumental. If we hadn't had Andy, it would have been very, very difficult because I can't get sparring for for Garcia. I was really happy to hear from Kevin's camp when they wanted us to go to Vegas to spar with Joseph, but it, like I said, didn't materialize. So, but Andy and Garcia sparred, I would say probably 20 times, a minimum of 7, 8 rounds, 9 rounds, 11 rounds one day. Of course, we fought a southpaw, so we had to bring in some southpaws. So when I did bring those guys in, they could only go like 2 or 3 rounds with Garcia. So Andy was really the bulk of our help.
Training a big deal. What advantages do you think is the opportunity?
You know, like you go on the internet, there's 50% of the doctors say it's no good for you, and 50% of the doctors say it's good for you. So when you bring a fighter up there and they're in great shape off the mountain, they come up there and they can't go 3 or 4 rounds, they themselves will be able to tell, if they're intelligent people, that there's something different about it. And after 10 days, when they're able to do more than they were doing off the mountain, and they go off the mountain, and they have great stamina. I've always said that it doesn't matter what anybody says, as long as the fighter believes it. That's the only thing that's important.
Kevin, was altitude training ever an option for Joseph?
Well, you know, living in Vegas, you have a little bit of altitude there anyway. It's not like 7,500 feet where Abel is. But you know, we've got to where we are training in Vegas, so we weren't looking to move up there.
Kevin, is there any part of you that's intimidated by Abel's success?
Oh, look, you know, I have a lot of respect for the man. I don't think it's intimidation. I'm proud of his success, you know, and I'm happy that we've got a quality trainer here with Andy. I think it's great for the New Zealand public, and it's great for this whole event to have Abel here.
What would it mean for you to get one over him?
Oh, you know, obviously it's not, Abel and I aren't doing the fighting. So, you know, both Joe and Andy have big jobs on their hands. So there'll be no, it's not about me and Abel.
Does this go the distance?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's a long fight.
Yes.
Abel?
I think it's a tough 12-round fight. They're gonna go at each other. And again, it's for the last 10, 12 years we have this wrestling, two guys wrestling in the ring, heavyweights, and we're gonna have a kind of fight where they're gonna hit each other. They're gonna hurt each other. Both of them are gonna hurt each other, but that's the way it should be. That's what we pay for. That's what he's talking about. There's still some tickets left. Those people that are gonna buy tickets are gonna expect that. So I'm looking forward to working my butt off in the corner. I'm sure he's going to work his butt off in the corner too. And that's how it should be. I had 2 fights the same way. I had 2 split decisions, one in Russia, both of them in Russia, and they were tough fights where I had to work the 4 12 rounds. But that's how we learn too about our fighters. That's how we learn what it is that we need to work on for the future, or what it is that we need to be telling them. Sometimes what we say in the corner is not the right thing, and we realize it the next round and we correct it, but that's what makes us better coaches too. I've had a blessed career, have a great success. That's because I've had the opportunity to work with some great fighters. The more you work with great fighters that are in fights like that, the more you become a better coach.
Let me just say, Joseph Parker has never fought anyone like Andy Ruiz. The Carlos Takam fight has definitely helped us coming into this fight. But I will add, Andy Ruiz has never fought an opponent like Joseph Parker either. That's why when this fight was made, forget about being a coach, as a boxing fan and the people I spoke to said this fight is a great fight. I've always thought that this is the best heavyweight matchup of the year. This will be the most exciting fight in the heavyweight division this year.
When you knew Abel was taking on Andy, did that change your mindset or change your tactics?
Oh no, it's just like, you know, I actually said at the time, I applauded Andy for the decision because I knew he's giving himself every possible opportunity to be in the best possible shape with a very experienced trainer. You know, Andy's serious about this fight. He knows, just like Joe, they both have a chance to make history here, and they're both giving themselves every opportunity to win.
I think we might win it there.
Brandon, you just have a boxing post we follow.
Yeah, we're going to do that. Okay, so Kevin has to go and do some training, so we appreciate. Thank you very much for coming along today. Abel is available to speak to a couple of you individually. But before you go, I'd just like to introduce the man sitting in the corner quite discreetly. Yes, you. It's Mr. Bruce Trampler. Bruce, if you could come up and say a few words. Bruce is the chief matchmaker for Top Rank. He is in the Boxing Hall of Fame, and he is Bob Aaron's right-hand man and pretty keen about this fight as well. Just Bruce, just your thoughts on this matchup and what you think this morning.
This is a very historic fight. We're either going to have the first Mexican heavyweight champion or the first New Zealand heavyweight champ. We've got two great trainers. I have a ton of respect for both guys, and if I had a fighter who needed a trainer, these would be my two candidates. So it's pretty incredible that they're squaring off here, that they're here today, that they're bringing their fighters in. Kevin and Joe Parker visited us in Las Vegas. Bob, Aram, and I were tremendously impressed by both guys. We'd never met Joe before. Actually, Aram had met Joe at the airport in Las Vegas. Bob had come back from Shanghai, and a guy went up and introduced himself. He said, "Hi, I'm Joseph Parker." And Bob was floored by him. He couldn't believe this big, good-looking guy was a heavyweight contender. He was so articulate and so friendly and a real sportsman. And that's what Andy is. I mean, Abel, if you go up to Big Bear, he doesn't have any bums up there. He doesn't have any lazy guys up there. You go up there, you're going to have to work. And they do work, and they respect Abel. They respond to Abel's coaching. Obviously, Joseph's had tremendous success responding to Kevin's training habits. And it's just like the perfect storm, these two guys fighting. Two undefeated guys, and we're looking forward to a really sensational fight. My first visit here to New Zealand, and I can't imagine a better matchup than watching Joe Parker and Andy Ruiz.
Bruce, you've obviously seen a lot of boxing over the years. Would you agree this could be one of the fights
Of the year? Yeah, this fight has the potential. I mean, you have two athletic, hard-fighting guys. Neither one takes a backward step. So, you know, there's an old saying, anything can happen in the heavyweight division. Just one punch can turn it around. And, I think, well, another old saying, there's two weight classes in boxing. There's the heavyweights, and then there's everyone else. And this is a really, really special heavyweight fight. And I wouldn't be surprised if ultimately they fight more than once. It's going to be that good a fight. So.
All right, what we'll do is we can just move these microphones out of the way, and then you guys set up whatever shots you like with Bruce and Kevin and Abel.
No, actually, he concentrated. He didn't know it was in Russia.